Okay, it's 9:30. December 23rd. This is a hybrid meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to start off with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which includes Curb Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. The Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaties First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of the lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I'll ask everyone to please turn your cell phones off or place them on vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And I'll remind council of declaration of community interest. If it arises, you can declare it then, unless you know something now that's on the agenda. Another reminder is that any conversation goes through the chair, and that when we're speaking to a motion, we do have twice to speak to it, once speaking to it and once with a follow-up. And I ask everyone to speak with respect to each other, and hopefully the meeting goes good. Anyways, we have minutes from the council meeting of November 19th. If all's in order, I'll look for a motion that we receive those minutes. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. And we're going to move right into delegation. First delegate, our only delegation here is Mike Villeneuve with the Lumix Group with regards to the community risk assessment. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Before I get into the presentation, I just want to do a little preamble on why I'm here. In July of 2019, the province enacted OREG 378-18, which required every municipality in the province of Ontario to complete what's called a community risk assessment with respect to fire. That risk assessment then must be publicly from each municipality, which we'll get that done once this meeting is over with. So the community risk assessment is it's done through it's data driven. It's really not something that you sit down and have a conversation about to get your feelings about it. That's another whole process called master fire plan. This is just a data driven document. So therefore there was really not a lot of stakeholder engagement other than myself talking to the chief and the deputy and the office of the fire marshal, getting information so that we could complete this process. So once this process is completed, again, you will post it publicly, and then we move on to the next process, which is a master fire plan. So I'm going to get into the presentation here, if I can make this work. Hopefully, Leah. Get the weight or. Okay, so a little bit of the project background. I just kind of did that. We're going to talk about the key findings and next steps, and then we'll have time for some questions and answers after that. There's something going on with. Kind of looks all out of whack there. There we go. Okay. So. Excuse me. Community risk assessment identifies and examines which threats a community is most likely to face. OREG 378-18 requires all municipalities to conduct this, and it requires the CRA to examine 9 community profiles. And you can see the profiles there: geographic, building stock, critical infrastructure, demographics, hazard profile, public safety response entities, community services profile, an economic profile, and a past loss and event history profile. So we have a startup meeting, met with the chief and went over how this process is going to work. And then we've had a few engagements with the chief and the deputy to, clarify information back and forth, that kind of thing. We collect data, we analyze the data, we draft a report. The report then comes back to the chief for clarity, to make sure there's no glaring errors or, you know, anything that is wrong that needs to be corrected. Fortunately, my history with Havelock is I born and raised in Marmora. So Havelock is my neighbor. I know this community quite well. So there wasn't a lot of stuff that was really wrong or I misspoke in the document. So that process went quite quick. So then we come up with the key findings. And again, that's everything. So once we come up with the risks, we rate the risks, whether they're a very low right up to extreme. There's a evaluation tool the Office of Fire Marshal puts out that we use. It looks at consequence and likelihood. So we match the two up and it all shakes out at the end, and we come up with a risk score and what the severity of that risk is. So for Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, we come up with a total of 10 risks, and your most severe risk is severe weather event, but it only comes out at a moderate risk when we shake it out and score it. This is very unusual that a community risk assessment does not come up with a high risk or a severe risk. Yours is it's an anomaly that moderate was your highest risk, which is fantastic. Great. So your highest risk was a severe weather event. Human health emergency. Obviously, we just came through a pandemic, a global pandemic. And as time goes on, in 5 years' time, when this process is done again, chances are that human health emergency is going to be down at the bottom or even off the list altogether if we don't have another event. So that one will definitely move. Road highway incidents. Obviously, you've got Highway 7, County Road 30, you got the roads going north. We're going to have incidents out there all the time. That's a given. Fire in a residential occupancy, that's almost a given as well. When we look at your past event history. Localized flooding, it happens. There's really nothing you can do about it to stop the flooding, but there's things you can do as a community to help your residents. Waterway related emergency, that's boating accidents, those types of things. Forest fires, and don't confuse forest fires with ground fires, like a grass fire. It's a totally different thing. Forest fires, again, you're a very low risk. Incident on the rail yard, over next door or on the rail lines. It's here, it is a risk, but your rail lines here going through this community are low speed rail lines, it's great. If you're going to have an incident, it's probably just going to be a car or two go off the rails and maybe block a roadway. So it's on the list as well. Incident at a mine or a quarry. You've got lots of quarries in this community and the Methuen mines up there. So there's a chance that there could be something happen there. Your past lost history indicates that yes, you have had incidents and you probably will in the future. And you've got the ethanol plant down the road here a little bit. So it shows up on the list as well. But you can see those bottom 5 in the light green, very low risk. They are here, so we identify them, but they are very low risk. So once we identify the risks, we develop what we call risk treatment plans for each risk. So the regulation does not require this to happen, but as a company, we feel that if we're going to identify a risk, we should at least give you something to say, here's how you can manage that risk, mitigate the risk, share the risk. So we've developed a risk treatment plan for each one of those risks, from the weather one right down to the mines and quarries and the ethanol plant. So in the risk treatment plans, we talk about avoiding the risk, mitigating the risk, accepting the risk, transferring it, or sharing it. And each one of the risks, you'll see them in the back of the document that I provided to you. Each one of them has one of those treatments. So the top 5 risks for Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. First one, severe weather. We're suggesting you can mitigate a little bit of it by continuing to provide public education about the importance of emergency preparedness, including what to do before, during, and after a weather event. You can also share some of the risk by working with your external agencies to implement public education initiatives, teaching about the 72-hour kit, those kinds of things. So that's the severe weather event. Road highway incident. Again, we're talking about mitigating it, review the roadways that are currently owned and operated by Havelock-Belmont-Methuen in order to identify high collision areas. Identify the resources that will be needed for future budget deliberations to address those. And what does that really mean? So if you can identify a high collision area, it might be an intersection north of here someplace that you keep having fender benders or cars going off the road or whatever in the same area. Well, once you identify that, then you can work with your public works department, say, is it sight lines? Is it road condition? Whatever. Identify that. You can come up with future budget solutions to rectify that. And hopefully the fire chief can provide you that information where these high collision areas are. Also, if it's a county road or an MTO road, you could also go to the county or the MTO and ask them to do the same thing for their roads. Do a traffic study and see what the issue is with that particular area of Highway 7 or one of the county roads. So that's transferring risk over to them. Human health emergency. Again, we're talking about mitigating it. Monitor your PPE cache, your personal protective equipment cache, to ensure that the township has an adequate supply of supplies for its staff members. Enroll the department personnel in ongoing training to reinforce their knowledge of ways to reduce the likelihood of contracting a communicable disease. And we're also recommending that the municipality develop a business continuity plan so that if something like this happens again, you can keep operating as a community. Very tough when you have everybody home sequestered and not being able to work. So you still have to continue to supply services to your community. Fire and residential occupancy. Again, that's your house fires, apartment fires, those kinds of things. So we're talking about mitigating that by developing a fire prevention policy for council's approval and adoption. Ensure that the policy includes a formalized smoke alarm and CO alarm program, and develop some public education programs based on the concept of the 3 lines of defense, which are public education, code enforcement, and then suppression. So that we can get the residential fires down. The ideal is to have no residential fires, but it's when humans get involved, we always make mistakes. So they'll always be there, but we want to reduce that number by educating people. And then your fifth risk was localized flooding. You're going to have to accept that it's going to happen. So you continue to monitor for signs of localized flooding and Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, offering applicable services as needed. And mitigate, provide public education about localized flooding, provide public education about the importance of emergency preparedness, and again, emphasizing the importance of a 72-hour emergency kit. So those are your top 5 risks. You can read through and learn about the other 5 if you so desire. So what are your next steps? So every year you want to update this document. And by updating it, it's changing the numbers. So we look at a 5-year history, drop 2019 off and put 2025 or 2024 in. So just keep moving the yardsticks ahead, changing your or looking at your census data, making sure those numbers are all up to date. That's the kind of thing we're talking about, keeping it up to date annually, because in 5 years' time, you have to redo this whole process again. And if you take the time to do that data right, you could probably do this yourself if you so desire. I know my boss is going to shoot me for saying that, but if you keep the data up to date, it's very easy to do this again. We'd be more than happy to come back in and update it, but if you have the staff resources to do it, you can. So you need to develop a process to do that. And you want to use the CRA to develop future strategic planning for the fire department. And that's what we're going to do next is your master fire plan. So we're rolling into that after today is finished. I'm meeting with the chief and the deputy, and we're going to spend some time going over the information that we need to start to develop the master fire plan for your community. I was informed that this process has been talked about for a few years, but COVID got in the way and everything kind of come to a screeching halt. So we're back on track. We're going to move ahead with the master fire plan. If there's any questions about this document, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Yeah, I'm surprised that the flooding in the higher thing there, because things happen quickly when that
They do, but numbers really don't lie, right? So when you really look at the data, you have that one flood in your mind that, you know, happens all the time, but it really doesn't. But when it happens, it's important to the people it's happening to, right? And you, because you're answering the questions, your worship. So
I'll open up to council. Any questions for Mike? Yeah, with regards to this? Go ahead.
Just thank you for the report, Mike. I think you stated that it seems like we're in pretty good shape, that most of these are covered off, so that, I don't know, for myself is reassuring, and that the residents are in good hands and our staff is doing an adequate job of keeping all this stuff up to date. So I just thank you very much for the report, and hopefully we can keep things at the moderate to low to very low range, right? So
through your worship, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, you're in very good shape here. And the document, the risk treatment plans, when you really look at them, there's not a lot of money involved. There's some, obviously, when you do anything, there's money involved, but we're not talking about going out and buying, you know, a widget that costs $100,000. We're talking about buying some public education materials, and transferring some risk to the county or the MTO. So there's not a lot of dollars involved, but there is some.
and you didn't say at the start, this is a mandated thing, so it's something that we have to do, right? So
Absolutely. This is mandated by the province. The interesting thing with this is there's absolutely no penalty for not doing it. The fire marshal's office will be banging on his door saying, when are you going to get it done? But there's no penalty if you don't. There's also not a right or wrong with these. It's, have you done it? Yes. Great. You're compliant. So you're now compliant. So
thank you.
that's a good thing.
Very much.
Your community is in very good shape. So it was a pleasure to do this one.
So the master plan, will that complement this for the next time?
Yes, what we'll do is we'll take anything out of here that we need to, and we'll roll it into the master fire plan. And I've already actually started working on the document, but today we're going to spend most of the day together. Ray's going to be sick of answering my questions today, but we're going to get a lot done so that I can start writing the document. Yeah, so this will help inform the master fire plan. Perfect.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you. I'll look for a motion to receive the delegation by Councillor Clement, second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. All right, so we're going to move into planning, and on you, Samantha. Welcome.
Thank you.
Councillor Below, River Land.
Good morning, Council. So this report is in regards to Sandy Lake Road, the dedication and assumption of certain lands within the township. So Sandy Lake Road is accessed off of County Road 46, which is south of Methuen Lake, and it is currently classified as a limited maintenance road. Portions of the roadway traverse through private property, and sometimes were never dedicated as a public highway and thus never assumed by the township. And this includes 1854 Sandy Lake Road, owned by Matt Davis. So in this instance, the roadway is assumed by the township, but never actually owned by us. Next slide, please. A survey was completed by the landowner to determine the extent of the roadway and to highlight that a 66-foot right-of-way could be achieved. Staff are satisfied with the survey and determined that a Sandy Lake Road is currently maintained by the township limitedly, that dedicating and assuming this roadway as a public highway is appropriate. Next slide, please. So staff did attend the site on November 20th. As you can see here, some site photos of the road. And you can see very small on the left photo there that there are property stakes that have been placed along the roadway. That does confirm that the roadway is in fact within the portion that is being deeded to the township. And to essentially just demarcate the lands that will be provided to us. Next slide, please. So the municipal act establishes that the municipal authority can pass bylaws and dedicate and assume roadways by bylaw, which is why you are seeing a bylaw portion within the agenda today. This request was outlined and provided to other township staff who have no concerns with the dedication and assumption. And this morning, it is council's consideration for the enactment of that bylaw and to direct the municipal solicitor to register the assumption bylaw. There's been no financial impact at this point, and registration of the bylaw is expected to be incurred by the landowner. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. So, yeah, we've seen a couple of these pop up over the last couple of years. So I'll open up to council. Do you have any questions for Samantha, or there's a recommendation here, so. Any questions?
No, I'll just move the recommendation.
All right, moved by Councillor Doherty that we move the recommendations, moved by Councillor Clement. Any questions to the motion? All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you.
On the agenda is staff report for information. We have one report here from Public Works with regards to the October department update. Questions around that? If not, I'll make a motion to receive it. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb that we received that staff report for information. Got a seconder? Councilor Clement? Any? All in favor? And that's carried. We'll move into the staff report with follow-up action. And the first item on here is the title. Regards the updated Belmont-Methuen strategic asset management policy. Any questions? The purpose is of this report is to provide council with an update strategic asset management policy in accordance with infrastructure for jobs, Prosperity Act 2015, and it's related to Regulation 588-17. So,
I'd make a motion to. Sorry, Lionel.
No,
Come
sorry.
on up.
Did you want to come on up and
Yeah,
There's no starting blocks there. I couldn't stop.
I was gonna add, thank you very much to the treasurer for all the work. There's a lot of work that goes into this asset management. It's very important to the municipality in terms of our future financial standing and well-being. So thank you very much for doing all this, Lionel.
Yeah. Is there any questions for Lionel with regards to this? All right then. So motion would be to receive the
To adopt.
to adopt. Okay. All right. So moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and second by Councillor Flagler. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Lionel. Great. Next item here is Bob and the emergency management plan.
Just
Well,
Okay.
it's both you and Ray, so.
So this report presents the bylaw regarding the adoption of the emergency management program and emergency response plan in the bylaw section of today's meeting. Also designates the emergency information officer position and the alternate as well. And staff is directed to complete the compliance submission to the fire marshal and emergency management before December 31st, 2024.
Anything to add to that, Ray? right then. So the recommendation is here, just what Bob said, so. Go ahead.
I'll make that motion to move that for you minutes.
Okay, moved by Councillor Clemens, that we go with the recommendation. Second by Deputy Mayor Webb. Any questions? All in favor? And that's good. All right, the next is the environmental grant. Bob,
Through you, Mayor Martin, so this report presents an environmental grant application from the Alberta Lake Cottage Association. The receipts have been submitted, and this is a grant that's allocated on a 50-50 basis. Total expenditure here was $780.83.
okay. So we put that with them and good. All right, then, so. Any questions? All right, then, the recommendation is that the environmental application for the Lake Association be approved. All right, thanks. Councillor Flagler's moving it, second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Next, yeah, next. Next item on here is the streetscape concept for George Street. So Jerry's here too, so part of the economic development committee. I think some of these things came up, but I don't know if anybody got any questions around this. There will be.
I was looking for, sorry, just looking for clarification, looking
Yeah,
for
so,
direction.
well, last week's meeting, we talked about it. We said there may be some opportunities to add to the plan or do nothing. Has anybody came up with any ideas or things that something that we've got to keep moving so we don't hold the project up?
Just from just looking at the price tag in terms of well, the price tag for this and then the price tag for the grand scope of the whole project. It'd be nice if we could trim a little bit off this. So what I was looking at in terms of the plan we have, if we maybe focused on the four corners we have up here and that part of the plan, and maybe hold off on the brick and whatnot down by Brett's funeral.
Yeah,
that corner. So maybe put the focus into this one intersection here. Hopefully, maybe as time goes on, we can work with the other sections of the street. But at the moment, I think for me, the most bang for the buck would be if we concentrated on up there and kind of, focused on that intersection. I don't know. That's my view of it, because I don't see us having the money to do the whole deal, right? So.
Okay, any other comments or ideas? I'm kind of with you as far as after hearing the delegation last meeting. I would like to see us do something, and if it's possible, like we still need to know how much it would cost. But if the intersection could be, maybe a little different than just a plain old paving. And then the lights, the decorative lights on the south side, I really would like to see what it would cost to put 4 or 5 lights on that side. But as far as burying lines, that's just way out of reach. I think it would just stop the project. So personally, I don't know where you'd come up with that, but
Maybe we can do everything but bury the lines, right? But
Yeah.
I think people are looking for more of just like the aesthetics of the streetscape, right? So I mean, if we could make the lines kind of, or the wires disappear with everything else being nice around it, I don't think, I mean, I think people would be happy with that. It's just the overall aesthetics, I think, is what people are looking for in terms of it being done the right way, right? This is a one in a generation project. Like the work that's being done here isn't going to be done for another 30 to 40 years, and a lot of it hasn't been done at all in terms of, I think, the east end of George Street, right? With the sewers and stuff we're putting in. So as much as I don't like to spend too much money, I think it might be a good investment in terms of the town moving forward to put a little bit extra into this. So, but that's just my opinion. So
my predecessor always talked about the hitching posts for the horses on George Street, and I don't think they're there anymore. So we're ahead of the game here now. So is there any other ideas or things that we would like to look into? Because I think all of this is gonna have to come back as part of the costing. The big thing is we don't want to hold the project up.
Sorry, and the one other thing, sorry, just you, Mr. Mayor, to share, I know we discussed, there's discussion kind of around the lighting that was in the pictures here and maybe getting different lighting. But, the lighting that was included, I don't know if you have that up there, sorry. For it. I think we discussed that already, Sherry, in terms.
So there were a couple of options that Patchett discussed. There was just a decorative mount that would go on the existing power poles, the right poles, George Street rather. However, what we had discussed was they call them light standards, they're roughly 12 to 15 feet with the decorative lamp, thinking if they were on the south side of the street, it would certainly illuminate. There are some shadowed areas to begin with. And you may lose sight of the gray poles, which are on the other side of the street. So that's what we had discussed.
Okay, we don't have a picture of those.
I'm not sure that's in this package. The costing was provided though in an earlier packet by Patchett.
So going even over the weekend, I was looking at some of the community, looking at Norwoods there. They have the decorative lighting on the ground level, plus they have the other ones up on the pole still. So they left all the wires and everything, but it is funny how the lights draw your eye. The lights, they don't, it takes away a bit from the wires, but I wasn't even sure if they still had wires above ground, but going through there on the weekend, I noticed that they did, but their decorative poles look nice and it did spruce it up a little bit. So there is opportunity, but I think the big thing is we would have to get a costing on it to see you know, what it would be, but it would be nice to give some direction to look at a couple of those things that were in that meeting, so.
Pretty Martin, just for my clarification, does that mean we provide a summary of the light standards with the decorative lights hanging off them, as well as some of the interlocking brick options, but only for Oak and George Street and not for the Quebec and George Street?
I think that's
what we, okay, thank you.
So talked a bit of the streetscape ideas there, but within reason, right? And like I say, we can't make any real final decision until we know what that would even cost, but as long as they've got a direction to work on, they can bring something forward and we can keep it moving. So.
Sure, Mr. Mayor, we discussed, I believe, at the last meeting, we're going to get rid of the interlocking stone, which is it's pricey and maintenance, maybe Peter can speak to it, but I think the maintenance is a bit of a factor too. I think the bottom line is it's really nice. We really should do it, but we really don't have $2 million to do it. So scaling it back to something moderate, getting some lights would be my preference.
Right.
Sure, yeah, remember, and I also heard from someone, one of our constituents who agreed with Jerry saying, you know, Rick, just keep some lights, keep it to a minimum, we just don't have that kind of money. So I like the idea of the lights and we do have to cut back, there's no doubt about it.
So for a costing thing, like to do something at the intersection itself, like I understand all the sidewalks being bricked and all that stuff, that's just way, like that's where the 2 million came in. I
Okay,
just wonder what the cost would be for the crosswalks. To have something, whether it's, he said it was a patterned concrete or something like that. I just wonder if we can always pull it out, but if we could narrow it down to something that might be more affordable. And if it's too high, we pull it out, like, but it's just rather than not have it there and find out it's a $5,000 fix or something like that. It would be a shame that we overlooked it, but it's just my thoughts there. So for the motion, we would have to be pretty clear on, we're looking at the intersection improvement and some decorative lighting. On the side.
Yeah, and then are we doing the crosswalks? So
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like the intersection crosswalks would be nice to have a separate price
as an extra.
that could be pulled if it's ridiculous. But I think all the interlock that it's showing on all the sidewalks and everything, like that's just way out of our and it's not practical personally, but I'll leave it up to whatever the motion looks like. We just need to be clear.
Well, yeah, I'll move just exactly what you said there, that we'll focus on the Oak George Street intersection, without the brick. And then, decorative lighting, well, for the whole street, but then to try and move some of it onto the south side, right? We're still gonna want, I think, some kind of lighting on the north
The
side.
decorative lighting would be on the south side, but they did, I don't know, like, that's up to you. What Norwood has, is they still got the same lights that are there.
Or maybe we do on the poles,
Yeah.
like we do a different type of decorative lighting, but we spiff up the poles or something like that, and then am I miss, oh, and then the extra would be the crosswalks. An added price on if we want to do the crosswalks as well, but that would be an extra. If everybody will publish that motion and if anybody wants to second that.
Through you, Mr. Question, there was a $20,000 item in there for, I think it's on this one, the print's pretty small, but the mural on the wall. Is that 5 or 20 or what is it? Is that really about?
That was, I think, and it might have been in another report about this.
Well, is it going to be, its beautification that's right there, what
Well, that's why I'd have to defer to the CAO
I
in
don't-
terms of that.
I don't see mural.
So that would be private property, and it's not gonna hold the road up if we didn't go with that right now, but.
No, but I know, I think
Yeah.
Councilor Doherty, where I noticed that in
Yeah,
the report,
it's on-
right, it is there.
Well, we talked about it,
Yep.
2 years ago, somebody's gonna get a quote on and get it done, but we didn't hear anything.
I think there's been discussion with the owners.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Deb?
Through you, Mayor Martin. I'm in agreement with street lighting on both sides, not just the one side. And I believe in the quote, we do need to fancy up the intersection. But I'm not sure on those blocks, those bricks. They are difficult to walk on. And I'd be concerned with wheelchairs, walkers, which they do constantly go up and down here because of our retirement home at the end. And I did notice though that they have in that quote, the 380 quote, trees and a bench. So I'm not sure where the plans to put trees and a bench.
Good point.
I
Is there even room there to put a plant tree, right? That's not gonna block the
Yeah.
street or grow into the building, so.
don't know. I think maybe an overkill there. I don't know.
So that's not in the motion, so.
So would you like me to amend the motion to add, to just take that out? Or I'll have them examine if it's even possible to put trees there.
I would just leave it the way you have it, like personally, like I wouldn't have them in like this is just me, but I just think if you put them in there, I don't see the room either, like when you look at the drawings. Like we talked about it years ago in the beautification committee, I'm talking a lot of years ago. They looked on Highway 7 about doing some along the sidewalk, like trees that don't grow very fast. There was a group that wanted to see that, but on George Street, it is very narrow, but you can leave it in there, like as long as everything's in there that you can pull it out. I do see your pen there, Jerry. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Well, why would the engineer recommend something that couldn't fit or doesn't work? I guess that would be the question. I mean, we always think, they obviously think it works, or hopefully they wouldn't have put it in there. I don't know. I agree with taking it out. You can't have a tree on George Street. Give me a.
Okay, yeah. Sherry, go ahead.
For you, Mayor Martin, it seems to like there are two ways of looking at this project. There is the project elements that we're considering incorporating into our spring phase of reconstruction. And then there's the separate streetscaping that will happen post-project delivery, which is murals, benches, and some beautification. And we will apply through the OMAF for downtown revitalization because they're all minor capital expenses that would qualify. And then there is typically for that grant a 30-70 split. But that is something that we've submitted within our budget 2024 reports.
Okay, Jerry? Yeah. All right, so I think for today, it's so we don't hold the road construction up, and I think even the street lighting is it could affect the road construction if there's conduit to go under the ground. So I think your motion pretty well covers everything. And as long as the pricing is, you know, they break it up so we can, if there's something that, you know, is just way out of reach, we can pull it out without messing up the whole quote. Like it'll, like I say, that first thing that we had last time was like 5 million, it could have been $4 or $5 million. We're looking a lot less than that. So, but we want to make it right.
Well, what we need for sure, from what I'm hearing from council, is we want for sure that intersection done with no brick, just the 4, right? And for sure, decorative lighting on both sides of the street.
Yeah.
For sure. And then everything after that, maybe to the mayor's point, could be itemized as extras 1 by 1 in terms of if we want to add them.
Okay.
Yeah, does that sound right?
Okay.
No, I'd like to summarize.
How is it?
It's very clear. Okay, so I think we're achieving the goal here. So at our last meeting, Jewel Engineering did come and present options for council to review the list of expenses. It sounds like we're breaking that list down, which was the request. So what I've heard in the conversation, I'm just making sure we have this right. So we're going to streetscape up to the corner of Oak and George Street. No interlocking stones. Decorative lighting on, we'll start it out as the south side, but I guess it's both sides of the road. Okay. And last, crosswalks with pricing to be included.
Yeah, but the last one is the extra, like the first 2 or 3 there you
Okay.
listed are mandatory.
This is a maybe.
Mandatory.
Okay, so we'll bring us back to, we'll present this back to Jewel Engineering. They'll come back with quotations to council.
Okay. So you're moving that. All right. And second, Bev. All right, Ben, any questions? Clear as mud? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Gary. All right, the next item here is a meeting schedule for 2025. Any questions around that? Councilor Doherty, go ahead.
February 18th. Is there any chance we can move that to the 19th or the 20th?
Probably better to move it to the next Tuesday. It'll probably cram into somebody else.
The day after the holiday. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Suggest a date.
Yeah, so I just moved to the next week if anything, because I'm sure that like I'll have pro on the Thursday and I'll have county on the Wednesday, so the week's taken.
So you remember, just to give you a heads up, I'm having laser surgery on the 25th. I won't be here.
Well, that's, yeah,
But that's fine.
yeah,
That's good.
just for to move it one day, it'll run into other schedules.
That's good.
So either leave it or remove it.
25th is fine.
So that's through you, Mayor Martin. Couple things there. There are 3 weekends in this schedule that do, or 3 meeting dates that do fall after a long weekend. So this issue arises 3 times in a year. Moving it to the next week is fine. It does put 2 meetings back to back in 2 weeks back to back.
So like the only problem I have on the ones that, and I don't have any problem, but I mean, if there is any problem, it would be good. I don't know why we can't move them into like, you know, a little later or something. So you do have an opportunity to see staff before the meeting, but
1 o'clock,
like a 1 o'clock start or something like that. That's the only thing.
9 o'clock.
Whatever, just to give an hour to, like, I know that's just an option. Otherwise, just leave it as it is. Cause like you say, we got 3 meetings that are gonna be that way. We'll just do the best we can. And they are planning meetings too, I think usually that one is.
February 18th is, yes. Yes, so we could move that meeting if you wish. After a long weekend, we could move it to later in the day, whether it's a noon start or 1 o'clock or 11 a.m., whatever you like. We could do that.
You said you can't do it on the 18th.
Well, I think it's called Family Day. And we're gonna have to work through Family Day, and the staff's gonna have to work to get the agenda ready and be ready for the meeting on the Tuesday following Family Day. I think it just kind of defeats the purpose, or we could do like the county, just cancel a meeting. Just not have one.
But we have one on the Wednesday. That's why I say I have one on Wednesday and Thursday, so unless you want to move into the evening. I don't have any time after that day, so.
That's two. Well, either way.
I'm okay with the
If we go to the
20.
if we go to the 25th, then we're doing two meetings in a row. So I mean, we go the 25th or the 11th, because there's still gonna be two meetings, all right, but like 2 weeks in a row.
That's right.
So,
Well, we have this, sorry, you have the same thing in January, back to back.
yeah, one's a budget meeting.
That's right.
It's true. So one's a budget meeting, but that means we're only having one regular meeting in January.
So,
Why not do that in February too?
so you know what, we've done it this long, it's work, so. Do the best we can, you know, like,
So do you want to move it to the 25th? Or we look,
it's up to you, I just need.
I'll make a motion to move to the 25th. Sorry, Kathy,
That's okay.
or we do prefer the 11th?
I'm thinking
No,
that way. It's fine, no,
Oh, okay.
we can have it any day. So why don't you tell us what day we can have it?
Okay with that? Okay.
That's the 11th.
Okay, well, I'll second it then, I guess.
Oh, no, that's the holiday.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry, sorry.
25th, she said she's okay. I'd make it, you know,
Well, if you do it the 11th, you can both be.
All right. You okay
That's all.
with
I'm
that?
just throwing that out.
we go in with the 11th?
No, I'm,
Okay, so I'll,
Yeah.
sorry, I amend that, can we change the February? Amended.
I'll second
Okay,
it.
that's moved, seconded by Counselor Doherty, and we can keep it to planning, keep it on track. So yeah, that's good. Okay, all in favor? That's carried, so. Right, that's all we had for staff report. The follow-up action. I don't have any correspondence. And moving into liaison reports. Or written oral notice of motion, I don't have any before me, is there any oral notice of motion? Okay. And county update, do you have any county update? It's mostly budget.
Mostly budget, yeah, so I'll probably have a more detailed report for our next meeting before Christmas. So we'll another county budget meeting every Friday, so.
So. Okay, so some other liaison reports here. We have minutes here from community policing from October 9th. Is there anything, any questions?
Just to interject, they are doing, at the request of doing a cradle cruiser this Saturday to the food bank
Okay,
for Christmas. Okay.
all right then, and Bev, you had the youth committee minutes there from September 26th and October 16th. Questions? And then Art, you had the economic development meeting there on September 23rd. There's no questions, I'll look for a motion that we received the reports. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb. Second, Councillor Flagler. All in favor? And that's carried. All right, then other business. So other business, budget meeting, December.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, this simply presents an option for council to schedule a budget meeting in December if council so chooses.
That's,
Oh, now you're gonna want.
oh,
I was just gonna say I'm good with any, I would suggest we do it next week, I think. Or get too close to Christmas. The week after might be busy for people, but I don't know what everybody's schedule is like, so I was just gonna suggest any day next week would be good. I know we have the luncheon going on, I heard on Thursday. And then I guess we get emergency management on Tuesday, so I guess we're down to Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week, so. If,
So
I don't know, if that works for anybody or.
Lionel, do you have any preference there?
Through you, Chair, I don't have a preference. It could be any of those days. I'm sure that the managers could come up with a presentation to do for each of their areas if council so chose to do the same sort of format for the day as last year.
To deliver the draft. Okay. So, yeah, so like you say, the 10th is out and, well, so. And I'm not around 13th. So we have the 9th and the 12th, or 9th and the 11th.
I'm okay with the
Monday and the
11th.
Wednesday.
I'm okay with 11th.
11. What day is that?
That's Wednesday, next Wednesday.
How long do you figure?
Future, I mean, it could be as long as council chooses. I mean, we could do a presentation of the budget similar to last year and it would be reasonably quick, or we could launch into budget discussions. So I think that would depend on how council wants to proceed.
Hey, Deputy Mayor Webb?
Yeah, I don't know, let the rest of council voice their opinion too, but I think as preliminary presentation would be nice in terms of let's just get everybody
Get it on
in,
the table.
have them run through it, right? There might be general questions in terms of what they're asking for, but I don't think we should get into the cutting and whatnot at that meeting, right?
So we
So I mean,
understand it.
if there's a new project there and you had questions about maybe the scope of the project or whatnot, we could ask those kind of quick general questions. But to Lionel's point, maybe get through that in maybe even a half a day, right? So we're not here all day, so.
Yeah.
Let everybody go home and process what they've heard and come back and do it, have more fun next time.
So, okay, Bev?
Through you, Mayor Martin, yes, I'm okay with meeting on a Monday. Unless you have daycare here. Bring in.
Monday's fine.
Monday's good, I'm good for Monday.
I can't be here, sorry. I got 2 doctor's appointments that can go.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's hard. That's what's hard when you go
Yeah, I
off the
know.
Tuesday, like I always say,
What about the week
Oh,
after?
if they're doing, sorry, excuse
The
me.
Monday after? Is Monday's good for you?
Yes, well,
Okay, so what if we did, so not next Monday, but the Monday after, because we're probably gonna have
Next
one
week?
before Christmas, but it looks at us.
the next week after that 10th week,
We
I'm free every day.
so,
As long as Evans is.
so we're just gonna, so
I'm okay with any.
why don't we just wait and then we'll see if we can move the emergency measures thing on Tuesday. Would that Tuesday work if we could do it? Like, we'll talk to Ray, see if we can move that the 11th to another date, because it's only Hart and I that it's gonna affect. And the other ones like staff, but
That's right, through you, like Bev and I were saying, like, good Monday the 16th, are you okay with the 16th? Are you okay, Jim,
Yeah.
the 16th?
We're only gonna have one, I
Yeah.
think, before Christmas, so is
16th?
sure.
that good?
I'm okay with that.
You good with that?
Yes,
Okay.
9th, 16th, 11th, and 24th, which one?
16th, please.
Not the
Wait, no,
24th.
Bob just checking to make sure it's gonna work.
So Monday, the 16th?
Mhm.
Yep, I think that works fine.
Okay, let's go to the 16th.
Can I ask a question through you, Mr. Mayor? And what is this going to entail? You touched on it briefly. So this is, managers are going to present their budgets and then we can send them away with some questions or look at it. We're not doing any cuts or amendments to the budget on that particular day.
That was just my suggestion.
No, I just wondering how you're, yeah,
That's what, in terms of just getting through it, we'll, you know what I mean? We can have a look at it, have some, like I said, quick questions or whatever, but
High level, get it on the table and we can. work
thank
on
you,
it.
but we're all gonna exactly have to take it home and, you know, obviously weed through this for a week or two, so. Not hopefully over the holidays, that'll give us time to do that.
So the 16th? All right, then. So moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thanks, Lionel. All right, then, so bylaws.
Fun.
Go ahead.
But sorry, I just had one quick thing, you know, the business, had a couple of phone calls, I believe, other members of council might have got phone calls as well, asking me about why our meetings are only in the daytime and not at nighttime. I tried to answer the questions as best I could, but I know the change came a number of years ago. So what I'm suggesting is hopefully, I was gonna ask staff if we could maybe bring a report back to the next meeting or as quickly as possible, outlining why we made the switch from going from night meetings to day meetings in terms of, I know there was a valid reason, I just can't recall it. And I think it's part of my job to answer the people who are asking the question of me. I should have that answer. So I just maybe requested it in the next staff meeting, or is this next soonest when we can get it to, we get a report in terms of, possibly maybe examining moving them back to night meetings. I've had a few comments like that. There could be circumstances that I can't remember that are the reasons why, we don't have night meetings. So, but maybe any staff, if they bring that report, can refresh our memory, and we can have a better look at this. So I know that might go over with staff, but sure.
Okay,
That has no problem bringing
Yeah.
a report if that's what you're asking.
Yes.
I may do.
Yeah.
so let's
Oh,
move
definitely,
by
yeah.
and a seconder for that. Counselor Flagler. And, okay, all in favor? And that's carried. So, yeah, just, it's ultimately our decision on what we do, so. Okay, all right then, so the bylaws here. Bylaw 2024-81. Bylaw to assume certain lands. On Sandy Lake Road. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Counselor Clement, all in favor. Sorry, that's carried. Bylaw 2024-82, being a bylaw to adopt emergency management program and emergency response plan. And to meet the requirements of Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act. So moved by Counselor Clement, second by Deputy Mayor Webb. Any questions? All in favor? And that's carried.
Sorry, I was still conversing here with the emergency program. Are we going to get briefed on it after it's finalized?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Doherty, typically, once a year, there are training sessions for that specific reason. I believe you've attended one in the past, so I expect there will be another one in 2025.
Yeah, because it's through you, Mr. Mayor, it's kind of important that we know how it works and the emergency plan, because Bev and I had the privilege of going to, where was it, Kawartha Lake or something, almost to North Bay when we got there that day. But it was, it's a fairly complex thing, and a lot of things happen very quickly with this. So I think for us not to be in the loop is a little out. So thank you.
Okay. All right then. So that was carried.
Yep.
So and then bylaw 2024-83 established the dates and start time for the regular council meeting.
So as amended.
As amended. Counselor Clement moving it. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Flagler seconding. All in favor? That's carried. And the next item here is closed session, and this closed session is held under authority of section 239-2B for personal matters, 239-2B for litigation or potential litigation, and 239K of position plan procedure for criteria. So motion to go into closed session. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Flagler. All in favor? That's carried, and we'll take a 5-minute or 10-minute recess. Come back at
Yeah, that the report summarizing committee appointments be brought to the next open session council meeting.
Okay, somebody want to move that? Moved by Councillor Clement, second Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor? Carried. And next is the affirming bylaw. Motion for the confirming bylaw for today's meeting. Passing.
See what you're
Kathy
actually
and
doing.
Bev. All in favor? And that's carried. And then motion to adjourn, Art, adjourned. All in favor?